Yo, yo, yo. What's good? What's good? It's Stormy B Man, and I am back. Welcoming you to the Tuesday Tussle for this Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. We're calling this episode Fight Analysis. To explain, I had a chance to listen to a video where two guys from over in Europe, the UK, Ade Aladipo and G-Man, discussing fights that are on the horizon, and in particular, they were discussing the upcoming battle that'll take place between Fabio Wardley and Joseph Parker. Now, I should rearrange those names because Parker is the headliner in this particular event, and he's taken on Wardley, defending his position as a number one contender for the WBO heavyweight title. Currently, the undisputed champion is Alexander Usyk, who has vowed in early 2026 will be taking on the winner of this fight. So Oladipo and G-Man were discussing their thoughts on the fight. And as I had listened to them going into the fight between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, I mockingly said that these guys, man, their assessments and analysis of fighters way off. Especially having access to the fighters. These two men have been around the fighters to do live on-the-spot interviews. And I'm just astonished at how little they know about the sport of boxing when it comes down to doing breakdowns. Their breakdowns are very superficial and not detailed enough to give consideration to a fighter who has the potential to be victorious, even against odds. And that's where, I kind of clash with these guys and guys like them, because everybody deserves an opportunity to have consideration. Whether you really believe or have faith in someone is a whole different story. But I listened to them when they gave their breakdown of Bud Crawford challenging Canelo Alvarez, and G-Man stated emphatically that there's no way, with his Irish accent, he's like, there's no way I could see Crawford winning this fight. I don't see, I'm like, And then, after Bud proved to be victorious, the guy was like, oh, he's an amazing fighter or what. He was amazing before he fought Canelo Alvarez, bro. You couldn't see that he had a chance? All you guys kept talking about is their weight classes for a reason. All you kept talking about is the fact that Canelo was bigger, which he was not. So they were wrong in that observation. They felt that Bud wouldn't be able to hurt Canelo, which they were wrong. They didn't give the man any credit for being the pound for pound top 2 fighter of the past decade. They didn't acknowledge the fact that Canelo had fought fighters of lesser degree than Crawford over his last 6 fights or so, including a washed up, folded and dried Triple G in the 3rd fight. So when you have people like this, and mind you, they say Adi just went over 100,000 subs. Kudos to him. But you're out here talking and spewing garbage, bro. And this is not me coming at them. They're going to do what they're going to do. But this is me telling a listening audience that they're very shallow. Just because someone's on television, just because they have the access that some of these guys have, doesn't make them in the know. So, as I evaluate fights going forward, I'm always able to give assessments of both fighters, acknowledgement of a favorite fighter, and what to be on the lookout for in the event that an upset may be able to take place. That's important. Because when you give a more calculated assessment, it will make the listening and viewing audience, in a great deal of instances, pay more close attention to what they're observing. And you kind of are putting them in a place to what to look for in assessing where they have arrived. So that's what tonight's subject is: fight analysis. And I'll let you hear a little bit of what these guys were talking about, and you'll see where my position is, because I'll give commentary on what I've drawn from their conversation. First, I want to do a roll call, see who we got in the building with us this evening. Convos with Cam out there early. Appreciate you stopping in. Says salute Stormy in chat. Peace and blessings to you. Same to you. Dale.Rev in the building saying salute Stormy in the chat. Universal Truth in the building saying salute Sensei. Stephen L. Mack is back with us saying, Sensei, great evening. Same to you, brother. Ratchet since 91 is in the building saying salute Sensei. Salute right back at you. Mr. Shelton is in the building saying peace. Yo. Eric Jordan out there saying Stormy B-Man. Salute Sensei. And who else we got out there? You guys, a couple of you guys are greeting each other. Yeah. Smash that like button as you come in, family, please. So some of what these guys are talking about, and remember, this is in relation to the fight between Joseph Parker and Fabio Wardley coming up this Saturday. It's tough when you kind of know better, but you're listening to people that are missing it. And you're like, man, I wish he'd say this or think about that. And it's like, wow. And that's another reason why a number of our supporters of the sport, they follow blindly behind certain individuals that they shouldn't really give too much time, thought, or energy to. And then they are dismissive of others. And it's kind of like crazy. See, when you're watching the NBA or the NFL, Major League Baseball, the other major sports, soccer, when a team is good, you can just tell. The game flows, the players are doing their thing, and you know, there are profiles and highlighted moments of assists and you know, scoring, and you know, a play being run with proficiency. In boxing, it's a lot different with that one-on-one dynamic. And when you're talking about the elite level of fighting, fighters are using the brain, the mind, to set traps, to catch and counter the opponent in a moment of vulnerability, and to take advantage of mistakes, weaknesses, lapses in focus. All of that is a part of it. And when you hear me talking about the sport on a continuous, regular basis, you hear me speak of these things. Do you ever hear these guys speak of that stuff? No, not unless they have borrowed a talking point that they may have heard somewhere else and brought it into conveniently a conversation. But see, I can have that type of revelation to you spontaneously. It doesn't catch me off guard. I don't talk about styles being all wrong for another fighter. I talk about a fighter not being prepared to handle the style at hand. That happens because something didn't transpire in the gym. When you have relay races, everybody doesn't have that speed to close the gap like the person that they put at the end of the line for the finish. Sometimes you can put a person like that to start it out. Sometimes you can put a person like that in the middle to carry it through. But it's rare that all three sections are covered with that type of talent. In boxing, everybody is not great with footwork, fast of hand, granite chin. Irrepressible stamina. There are so many factors that can lead to someone being effective. Fighters who are limited, shorter reaches, shorter height, flat-footed, or not as mobile. They have to find ways to be most effective and engage the opponent, albeit that they have these shortcomings. Fighters that are strong, athletic, muscular, those qualities don't guarantee a victory. Sometimes these muscular guys don't have the stamina to go the distance, especially in an affair where they have been called upon to burn stamina and energy. You guys remember the fight on the undercard of Bud and Canelo, Lester Martinez and Christian and Billy? That fight ended up being a draw, and Martinez could have won the fight easily. But he fought with his heart and not his head, because he was the more versatile of the two, and he refused to step out and box Billy and take advantage of what Billy couldn't do, and chose to stand in the trenches and trade with him, where they showed equal desire and aggression. But if you're about winning, you take the opportunity to win. If Billy could have stepped out and boxed like Martinez is capable of doing, he would have done so. But he could only fight one way. And I guarantee you, when they got back home and in the gym, After the fight, Martinez was probably inundated with coach's opinions on how stubborn and bullheaded he was, and he ended up drawing in a fight that he could have easily won a decision hands down and put himself in a greater position going forward. We see that kind of stuff all the time. Macadus Mac of the South, salute to you. Good to see you out there. B-Mac in the building. What's happening with you? But I'm going to play a little bit of this Ade and G-Man. And you guys can hear for yourself what I'm talking about. And let me know if you can hear this okay. If I need to turn the music off or whatever, I'll do that. I'll stop it periodically to make my little comments.
All right, I've written down Wardley Parker. I keep making that mistake. Parker versus Wardley. This Saturday, live on the Zone, pay-per-view, O2 Arena, which hopefully is busy. I've not had a look at ticket sales or anything like that. I don't know if it's half empty. I have no idea where this fight is, but I don't care because I know when these two get in the ring, I think we've got a really good heavyweight fight. Who wins?
Joseph Parker wins for me.
Okay.
He wins comfortably on points. He wins comfortably on points.
Can you win comfortably on points against Wardley? Knowing at any time you can get chinned?
If if Justice Hooney hadn't have just got reckless, he probably would have won comfortably on points.
Yeah.
But that's the problem. You have to be switched on. Joseph Parker's always been switched on. Whenever he's been in there against big punchers, he's always been switched on.
Now, that was G-Man speaking, the Irishman. He says that he thinks that Parker will win comfortably on points. And his assessment is when he's in with punchers, Parker is always dialed in, focused with punchers. Now, he gave a couple of examples of fighters that you'll hear him say coming up, but Parker has not always come into the ring in the best of condition to compete. When we look at whom he's fought over his last few fights, he has shown that he was in against guys that he could take advantage of. The last 5 fights that he's fought, going back, Martin Bakole, Zhilei Zhang, Deontay Wilder, Simon Keane, Faiga Apelu. Deontay Wilder was coming off of a huge layoff when Parker had fought him. Zhilei Zhang battered Parker around the ring and dropped him twice, and he got a majority decision win. Martin Bakole, who had anesthetized Jared Anderson and stopped his heavyweight career, had took the fight on basically a 48-hour notice with no training camp or anything. They just said, hey, would you like to come and fight in Saudi? We'll pay you XYZ. And he said, yeah, I'll be there, and got on a plane. Dude got off the plane in some old rusty jeans and a tight T-shirt because his belly was hanging over his pants. And Parker took care of him in 2 rounds. Where was all of this that G-Man is talking about? You've had advantages, bro. Keen advantages that led to the deception of he being as good as they're touting him. First of all, Parker is a heavyweight with a record of 36 wins, 3 losses, stopped one time in those 3 losses by Joe Joyce, and 24 KOs. 24 KOs. What that suggests to me is when he's fighting the creme de la creme, or the top fighters, he's going the distance or losing decisions against the best guys. When he and Joe Joyce locked horns, that was in September of 2022, and Joe Joyce knocked him out. He came in at a career high of 255.5 pounds against Joe Joyce, who entered the fight 271.25 pounds. Joyce was winning on points before the stoppage. 97-92, 97-94, 96-94. He was boxing the hell out of Joe Parker. Now, see, I'm pointing that out because remember what this man just said. Wins comfortably on points. In 2 fights with Derek Chisora before the Joe Joyce loss, he won a unanimous decision in a rematch. In the first fight, he won a split decision against Derek Chisora. In July of 2018, just before the pandemic, he lost a unanimous decision to Dillian White. Now, what that tells me is Parker is quite average at heavyweight. Quite average. And there's nothing wrong with being average at heavyweight. So his win over Deontay Wilder, he didn't knock Wilder out. He didn't come close to knocking Wilder out. Wilder just was kind of like in a different situation of caught between styles, inactivity, didn't have that normal aggression. He had that thing going on where he had went someplace and they had done some kind of thing with him to make him real mellow and all of that, and that real fiery edge that he had as a fighter, it kind of wasn't there. He wasn't able to call upon that. When Wilder was the WBC champ and Parker was the WBO champ, which goes back to like 2016, 2017. Wilder wanted to fight him. But instead of facing Wilder, he ran over to the UK and ransomed his WBO title off to Anthony Joshua, where he lost a unanimous decision against Joshua with a referee, Giuseppe Quattrone, who didn't let him get close to Joshua at all. He acted like Joseph Parker was SAing Joshua's body every time he got close so he would break them. I'm saying all of this I'm assessing where Parker is. And you heard G-Man give a ridiculous account. And I haven't even begun to speak on Fabio Wardley yet. But I'll let the guy continue.
It's only against guys like Joe Joyce who've really put it on him and basically given him no room to breathe, where he's kind of come a little bit apart. Fabio Wardley, he's not. He might be able to do it in parts against Joseph Parker, but I don't think he'll be able to maintain it. And looking at this fight, I've done a couple of preview videos. When Fabio Wardley goes through the gears, it's actually frightening how ferocious he is. But God, is he reckless. And someone like a Joseph Parker, again, doing that against the Nick Webbs, the Nathan Gormans of the world, and obviously he landed that big shot against Justice Huni. Joseph Parker, it's not even close to talent gap. And Joseph Parker can spot things that those guys can't. He's a big puncher, arguably the biggest puncher that he would have fought. As a pro.
Wardley would have fought?
Exactly, yeah, as a pro. Because if you think about it like this, he's very good. He doesn't always show it, but he has very good power. And he's accurate. And plus, look how big he is nowadays. Like,
Now, you just heard him say he's a big puncher. I just pointed out to you that out of 36 wins, he has minus 10 knockouts to close the gap in separation of knocking out quality opponents. He says that fighters like Joe Joyce put it on Parker, but he doesn't think that Wardley can do it but in spurts or something like that. What a miscalculation. When Wardley faced Big Frazier Clark, the first fight going in, he boxed cautiously. And Big Frazier he's a big man. I'm talking about, he's about 6'5", and every bit as big as Joe Parker. Let me go and pull it up. Fabio, when he faced Frazier Clark the first time, oh, here we go. Check this out, guys. When they faced each other the first time in a Fight of the Year candidate, which ended up being a split decision draw, Fabio weighed 243. Frazier weighed 266. He was down once in the 5th round, and he ended up losing the split decision because he was deducted a point for low blows. And Frazier Clark was the more experienced fighter as far as having an amateur career and everything going into that fight, and was thought to be a guy that can really take care of Wardley, who hadn't had the amateur experience. In the rematch, Big Frazier came in at 271 and 1/4 pounds. So heavier, bulkier, stronger. Fabio came in 2 pounds less than the first fight at 241. Big Frazier is 6'6", meaning he's bigger than Joseph Parker, and is the same age as Parker at 33. Wardley is 29. No, Wardley now is 30, I believe. He's 30. Wardley knocked Frazier out in 1 round in the rematch. He took a total different approach to the fight. He went after Big Frazier, damaged the left side of his jaw. He had to have surgery after the fight with 1 punch. I'm mentioning this because I'm letting you listen to these experts. And you know, I've termed it sexperts because they speak so lovingly and affectionately over these guys without having done any real assessment to their talents and abilities. or character. Character always factors in. Always. Wardley is a fighter at heart. There are not a lot of fighters in the heavyweight division that has that same level of having something on under the surface that he has. He's a mean-spirited fighter. He's not a mean guy unless you're in the ring opposite him. But he's one of those guys. He reminds me of a guy like, you know how they talk about the strong, silent type? He speaks very intelligently, articulates his thoughts very well, is a little bit of a humorist. However, there's a switch. G-Man alluded to that he flips when he's in that ring. Joseph Parker showed against Andy Ruiz Jr. that he could have trouble with a boxer, a guy who has fast hands, can punch good. He lost to Dillian White, a unanimous decision loss. He lost to AJ. Now, some people will say, well, he's with Andy Lee now and he's put on extra weight and he's a different fighter mentally or not. No, he's the same fighter. And it's going to be shown when he gets in there with Fabio Wardley that he's the same fighter. Because Wardley happens to bring something to the ring that, like I said a moment ago, some fighters just do not have. He has a warrior's spirit at the core. And it doesn't matter that he didn't have as many amateur fights. It doesn't matter that he hasn't fought a number of top flight fighters, but everyone they've put him in the ring with, he has found a way to turn it up. And what's on the line in this fight against Parker is an opportunity to fight for all the marbles in the very next fight against Alexander Usyk for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. Parker has been running around talking like he deserves the shot. Wardley has been fighting to put himself in position for the shot. The man who should be getting the shot is Ajit Kabiel. But they didn't want to put Parker in against Kabiel because Kabiel has shown that he can beat them all, big or small. He's beaten Makhmudov. He's beaten Zhilei Zhang, who should have got the decision over Parker. So they've decided to go with a lesser evil that they think, Parker against Fabio Wardley. Watch how this blows up in his face. Because even though Kabiel is probably the best out of them contenders who fights, what Wardley has on the inside, his inner fortitude, equates to the other stuff that the other guys have or surpasses it. The fact that he can punch your lights out is extra trimmings. He was losing almost every round against Justin Hooney. And Hooney got comfortable and got knocked out late in the fight. Now, some people say, oh, he had a lapse in focus or whatever. But what I say is this. The fact that Wardley was able to get that knockout means that he was engaged the entire time, and when the moment presented himself, he pulled that victory out. Now, will he have to do that all the time? Absolutely not. But he knows that he can go get a guy. Can Parker go get somebody? I'll wait. Let's hear a little bit more from these numbskulls.
How much? I'm dying to know how much he's going to weigh on fight night.
Yeah, probably 260.
He was in the high 260s
Yeah,
against
probably
Piccoli.
260. My worry for Joseph Parker, and look, just to put my sort of cards on the table, I think Joseph Parker wins as well, and I don't think that's radical. Joseph Parker is the second or third best heavyweight in the world. This is, I think I said it on the face-off, this is a step up for Fabio Waldy, not for Joseph Parker.
How is he the second or third best heavyweight in the world? You just heard me mention Ajit Cabiel, didn't you not? You see how short-sighted these guys are? They can't even be honest sitting there talking about the guys who are not in front of them. Alexander Usyk is the undisputed champion. Ajit Cabiel should be fighting him because he's the next best heavyweight. What you're getting ready to see between Wardley and Parker is someone battling for the position of that third place. They can't even tell you that because they're so short-sighted that they're not, again, when you're talking about the landscape of boxing and fighters meeting up, you have to put everything on the table. Do you know, like in the movie Iron Man 2, when Justin Hammer had his tech and he spread it all out on that table in front of Rhodey, excuse me, I said Wardley. And he was trying to show him the tech that they could put in the Iron Man armor that Rhodey had. He had it all spread out on the table. That's how you have to assess fighters. Understand, we're talking about fight analysis. Now you see where I got this title for tonight's show from? It's so amazing that these guys have brought no notebooks. They've brought no knowledge of the history of the men. They're only going on their feelings, their thoughts, basically pulling out of their behind. Foolishness. Derek Gaines, I see you out there, brother. What's happening? Jermaine Jubilee, salute to you. I'm only trying to point this out, guys, because I want you to understand. And this is not about picking the right guy to win. That's not about that at all. You remember when Roger Mayweather coined the phrase, 90% plus of people don't know shit about boxing. He was right. They could be sitting there watching something happen right before their very eyes. And someone can win and someone can lose, whether it's a knockout or a decision. And they'll still say, I thought the other guy won because of X, Y, Z. But he was knocked out, though. Well, if he had just done this, but it was unanimous for the other guy. But I didn't see it that way. What the hell do you see? Seriously. Your thoughts are wrong, as Bruce Lee told Jane Franciscus in Longstreet. It gets frustrating watching that, knowing what I know. You know what it's like when you're watching a horror movie and the person is running away from the monster and they trip and they fall and they be struggling to get the doorknob open and they're looking back. Stop looking back, just go. And they're looking, and you're like, here comes the monster. And you're like, go, get out of there. And they just, it's like, listening to them is like they are the person in the horror movie running from the monster. And I'm watching it, but I'm saying, no, don't say that. Don't do that. That's me. It's crazy. I'll play a little more of this.
My worry for Joseph Parker is that he's had 4 minutes of fight action in 15 months.
Yeah, and he had 4 minutes against a guy who had 48 hours notice.
Yeah.
And was in no shape to be in the ring.
Yeah. So and at this stage of his career, look, I think we've seen it with Crawford, right? Sometimes a long laught's not a bad thing, right? But I always felt like the best Joseph Parker was an active Joseph Parker, the Joseph Parker that had those fights against Wilder and Zhang, and they were closely matched. Same as Dubois. I feel like he needs to stay busy, and he's not been busy at all. At all. So he can do all the gym work, he can put on the size, he can do all the sparring, you know this. If he's not making that ring walk, there's a bit of a problem there. Rust will sort of kick in, and it will certainly kick in if you're in your mid-30s.
Well,
you know, he talked about Parker having ring rust now. But they didn't talk about Wilder having ring rust when he faced Parker, though. See, that was the thing. And I don't like that. I don't like you have those type of considerations for one guy, but you don't have it for all guys. Huh? When Joseph Parker faced Deontay Wilder, I'm pulling up Wilder on BoxRec right at the moment. Parker faced Wilder in December of 2023, a couple days before Christmas. Wilder's previous fight was October 2022 against Helenius. Parker's previous fight was against Simon Keane, October 2023. Prior to that, it was May 2023 against Faiga Apilo. And then in January of 2023, it was Jack Macy. So he had 3 fights against opponents where Wilder had 1 fight in a year. Plus, Wilder was going through some personal matters, even injury, but he still showed up to fight like a trooper. Where was that type of consideration? You acknowledge that Martin Bakole had 48 hours of prep to face Parker, and he took him out in 4 minutes like he was supposed to. if Wilder had had 3 fights in 2023, Wilder was Joseph Parker's 4th fight in the calendar year. What if Wilder had had 4 fights and Joseph Parker had had 1 fight in a year? How would that have looked? I'll wait. This is the kind of thing that I talk about, man. You listen to these guys out here. What the hell? Lewis Hinton, what's good with you? All I'm saying, people, is you listen to these men and they give fight analysis and breakdowns. And half the time they don't even know what the hell they're talking about. I wanted to point these things out, but only having an hour to work with is kind of like, it's rough. Because there's so much more I could say. But just understand this. For this fight coming up this weekend, people, Fabio Wardley, one must keep all eyes on that man. Because if he goes in there and he takes out Joseph Parker, remember this conversation. Parker is the favorite in this fight, and he should be because of his status of where he's been in the sport. He's a former world titleist, and Wardley is a guy who they claim is an overachiever. But if Wardley wins this fight, that's not an overachievement. And Parker's only 3 years older. This is not a 40-year-old Zhilei Zhang. This is not a 40-year-old Deontay Wilder. This is not a 40-year-old Martin Bakole. Because Bakole is definitely older than what they're saying he is. Yeah. So in closing, what I would like to say is this. Those people who decide to do a fight analysis, you can listen to their talking points, but if they're not peeling back the layers of the onion, hold them accountable for it. Otherwise, they're just selling you on what they would like to see happen. They've got to give you food for thought. They've got to make you feel engaged. They got to prove to you that they know what the hell they're talking about. That's important, people. You know, I work hard at trying to put together content, and it's never superficial. But seeing some of these folks on the airwaves, man, it's an insult to my intelligence. Roger Mayweather was right. Most of these people don't know shit about boxing. Not a thing. Just be careful who you tune into, guys. When you're talking about this sport, you want to be able to learn something. You want to be able to gain. You know what I mean? You want to be able to put some things together. You want a sense of fulfillment and understanding with the sport, the sweet science. Boxing is a beautiful sport. It's a beautiful sport. So that's pretty much it for this evening, you guys. I appreciate everybody that came out. I could probably do a part 2 to this. It won't be on the same guys or the same fight, but fight analysis. Because there are others I can pull out of the woodwork and tell you and show you exactly how they fall short like these guys did. But be sure to tune in to this heavyweight matchup, Parker versus Wardley. And it should be an interesting matchup, to say the least. This is Stormy B Man. I want to say shout out to the mighty LDBC. And we'll catch you guys next week. Peace to everybody. Enjoy your week ahead. Be safe out there.
if Canelo was 100% confident in himself, I don't know why he wouldn't fight me. Especially since, you know, seeing that everybody in his team is on steroids, which means including him. He never got on steroids.
You think he's on steroids?
Of course. How does five?
You saw De La Hoya.
How do five people out of your camp get tested positive for steroids? Right. You know what I mean? No, all those fucking dudes in that camp are dirty.
It don't matter to me. It's all gonna be the same.
I try it, but my body just not let me go. And you need to accept it. That's it. I hit Crawford, but no clean shots, like with all my power. He's a great fighter. He's a good fighter. He knows how to move and everything.
Oh, what a nice day. Look at Jessica. Jessica, what are you doing? You know you can't swim. Get away from the water, Jessica. Jessica, get away from the... Oh, my God. Somebody help Jessica, please. She can't swim. Go help Jessica, run. Jessica, no. Oh, my God. No, Jessica. No, the water is pulling her back in. Where's the lifeguard? Lifeguard, hurry up. She can't swim. Jessica, no! Lifeguard, please save her! Yes, do lifeguard! Save her, no! Please, Jessica! Oh, look, hey! Is that husband is coming? Oh, you want to yes! Hey, please, save her! Jessica! They're coming now, they're here! Jessica!